Episode of Headgears and Handshakes. I am here with the legendary Jim Schoff of Field of Screams, not to be confused with Field of Streams, but Field of Screams. Great coming today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to be here and be on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about your wrestling first. Obviously, you have a phenomenal business. Being a big horror and haunts fan, I mean, I'm super pumped to be able to talk to you today. I'm actually going tonight with my son and my mom. We all love horror, my dad and my wife, and they don't like it. So we're going to be coming up there and getting our pants scared off of us. But I want to talk a little about just your wrestling upbringing. I mean, when you get started in wrestling, what was your career like, some lessons learned, that type of stuff.
Yeah, well, just real quick, good luck tonight. I wish you guys good luck in Field of Streams. You're going to need it, and it's not for everybody. So, you're the family members that aren't ready, they probably shouldn't come because it's pretty intense. Yeah. But yeah, no, as far as wrestling wise, I started wrestling in third grade locally here in Lancaster County at Hempfield High School. My older brother, who's my business partner with Field of Screams, he started wrestling. He's 6 years older than me. He said, you got to join wrestling. So I'm like, all right, whatever you're doing, I'm doing. So started wrestling in third grade, wrestled through Hempfield. My senior year, I made it to the state tournament. I went 2 and out, so I didn't really have any, colleges looking at me, and I wanted to be a teacher. So I was deciding between Millersville and Elizabethtown at the time, and decided to walk on to Millersville because that was a D1 program back then, coached by Shorty Hitchcock, the legendary Shorty Hitchcock, and just walked on as a freshman. Ended up really then figuring out the sport. And, that's where I began to excel by the time I reached my senior year. Well, I'll kind of back up. My sophomore year, we were in the Southern Regional, so we had to win. You had to win our tournament to go to nationals. Yep. So I placed second my senior year, or second my sophomore year, and we had a really strong team that year, and we got a lot of the wild card bids. I think we had like 3 or 4 wild card bids that got to enter to go to the national tournament. So my junior year, I placed second again in our qualifier. So once again, I didn't get to go, but I was really hoping to get a wild card bid. Well, the year before, Millersville had gotten a lot of the wild card bids, and none of the guys did well. Mm-hmm. So I think they were kind of like, we're not sending another Millersville kid as a wild card. So I didn't get to go again my junior year. Super disappointed. Really thought I was going to go. Really wanted that experience before my senior year. Mm-hmm. Senior year, qualifier was down in Georgia. Finally won. Got to go. It was still follow the leader. Lost to the third seeded kid first round. Then I won 2 blood rounds. I lost on riding time, so that's
you made the blood round of the NCAA Division I tournament.
Yeah, 126. Dang. Yeah, 1995. Look it up.
So you were scary. You were scary, man.
I was scary. I was scaring kids, but man, so that's the one match you remember of your whole career. Yeah. It's like the one you lost, especially the blood round, and I always I'm always reminded whenever you go to the NCAA tournament, and they're like, any All-Americans in the crowd, go ahead and stand up, and I just have to sit there going. I'm like, man, can't they say, like, anybody lost in a blood round, stand up, and we'll just all laugh or cry for you?
Let me tell you this, though. Let's say there's 10 weight classes. There's only 10 happy people. I don't care. The same feeling that you have, the people that All-Americans have, right? Like, nobody's happy in wrestling, and that's what's so unique about our sport is, like, it's just never enough. It's just you always want more, and our brains are just they never stop working, and that's what makes us, I think, so successful in the real world because we're not normal. Like we're the only ones out there, and it's just unless you win it all, it always seems like a failure. And a lot of those people, if they go on to the Olympic, they just find a way to put it to where you can't lose on finish on a win, right?
Yeah. No, that's a great segue because I mean. It's exactly how we feel about our business. It's like, and that's why we propelled, my brother and I both wrestlers, propelled Field of Screams to where it is because you're never satisfied. It's like, it's never good enough. The show last year was never where you wanted it to be.
Hmm.
You always want more, like, and it's just you're always just pushing the envelope. What can we do? Like, how can we make this better? You're never satisfied. You're never satisfied. Like
Hmm.
you never reach the pinnacle. And it's the same with wrestling. It's like okay, well, I lost no blood round. I want to be an All-American. Well, I don't want to be an All-American. I want to be in the finals.
Yep.
I want to win it. Like okay, now I want to go internationally and compete there. It's like it's never good enough. That's the mindset of a wrestler and a successful person as well.
Yeah. And so just to tell you a little bit about me, I used to drive about an hour and 30 minutes every Halloween to go to a haunt.
Oh
And
wow.
so I love it. Like I'm big into horror movies. Like my favorite movie's a horror movie. Like I love Halloween. I love haunts. I love it all. And so I was from North Carolina. This was just like a small haunt that we'd go to, but it was the best one in our area. And so I had never heard of Field of Screams before because I was from North Carolina. And so I just moved here, and when I heard about you, I started looking it up. I started talking. Everybody in Pennsylvania knows about it. Can you just tell people that maybe are not from the state of Pennsylvania or are from down south just a little about what you do and just how massive it is?
Yeah. So yeah, Field of Screams. It's on our family farm, and we started Field of Screams when I was actually a student at Millersville while I was wrestling. Just kind of on a whim, something fun to do that we could do on our farm, make a little money. But anyway, that was in 1993. I graduated in 95 from Millersville. But Field of Screams now has evolved into just a massive operation. Our haunted hayride it's just legendary across the U.S. Not many haunted attractions do hayrides anymore. Ours is like the marquee of Field of Screams. You go through, you're on a tractor pulled wagon through our fields, our cornfields. It's a 33 acre farm. You go through about 10 different scenes. A lot of the scenes, like you enter the tractor and wagon, pull into a building, the doors close, you're trapped inside there. It may be a slaughterhouse where pigs, drop down from the ceiling and dripping blood, and
Yeah.
pig actors come out and attack you. But then there's two original barns on the property that we turned into haunted houses. The one's at Den of Darkness, the other one's a Frightmare Asylum. And then we took a section of the woods, we call that Nocturnal Wasteland, and that's a walk through the woods, this post-apocalyptic kind of setting. So 4 haunted attractions, a huge scream shop. It's our novelty shop. We have axe throwing. We have escape rooms, 3 5-minute escape rooms that you can participate in. There's games like the toxic head toss, the zombie football throw. So just different kind of like homemade carnival style games. And then there's different activities that are happening. It could be a live band playing tonight or tomorrow night. We have the rap battle
Okay.
going on. So it's kind of like, if you guys remember the movie 8 Mile with like Eminem. So it's like,
Yep.
we've been doing this for like 20 years and we still do it because it's so popular. But we have these guys that sign up that want to like do these like rap battles, right?
Okay.
So it's like a tournament style. It's like 16-man bracket.
Yeah.
And we leave one space as like walk-ons. So anyone that walk-on can compete for the 16th spot. And then these guys just go up and they battle each other. They have like a minute and a half or something like that to battle. Like, I would battle you and then you would battle
Yep.
me. I would like pick on you, be like, yeah, you're, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they have to try to keep it clean, and then the crowd's like, picks the winner. They cheer and they
Yep.
pick the winner. And then they just advance to the finals. So it's, I don't know. It's just cool, but there's always the point is like every weekend there's something unique going on.
And every year you're just adding something else. I mean, it's got to a point where you have a rap battle going on.
Yeah.
So
Every
it's never
year.
good enough, and that's something that you learned in wrestling. It's just, how do I make it better? How do I make it better? Right.
Right. Yeah. We have a team of about 12 full-time people, and just we joke around. It's like, sometimes it's good that our season comes up because we have to stop working. And that's the honest truth. I mean, if we didn't have an opening day, we would just keep like building and
Yeah.
creating and making it better and making it cooler. But like, come August, because usually opening day is mid-September, mid-August, we're like, all right, we got to make sure we got to refocus on wrapping up the projects and not continuing to do any new projects, get things wrapped up and ready to open for the year, because the crew is super motivated on, just continuing to improve it and excel it. And we have our plans. Actually, today we're meeting at 3:00 to talk about our 2026 plans. We have a meeting today with our crew before we open. to talk about next year. So
Yeah.
always looking for that next thing.
It's like just in wrestling, it's like you have your high school season, that ends. Now it's freestyle season, that ends. You have a little bit of time, right? And then boom, right back to it. And never, it's year round. It's just
It's year
always
round.
trying to get better and grow it and find new attractions, new ways. Did I see that you could pay to dress up as a zombie or something like that?
Oh
Did I
yeah,
see that? What's that
you
about?
did see that.
Yeah.
So that's another element that we added about 12 years ago now. At the end of our season, mid-November, we do a zombie 5K fun run. Helps benefit the PA Breast Cancer Coalition. But it's a 5K course. It's not timed, but it's a 5K course on our property. You run through the sets, you run through the scenes, but on top of, and you wear a flag football belt with 3 flags dangling from it. So you can either be a runner, you can be a team of runners, or you can be one of the zombies. So that's where you can dress up and be a zombie for that run. The zombies are quarantined to certain zones out on the course, and then there's obstacles. You know, there's the rope climb. There's the rope ladder that you go
Yep.
up and down. All kinds of monkey bars, all kinds of different obstacles to participate in too. So it's kind of like a obstacle course, mud run, fun run, plus zombies.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the zombies are trying to, as you go through, they're trying to snag your flags. And then if you lose all your flags, you become a zombie yourself. You don't really become a zombie.
Yeah.
But at the end of the race, we give out a medal, and you just get an infected medal. And or if you have one of your lives dangling, you're a survivor.
We're going to do a wrestling version, but we're going to have hungry wrestlers. They're going to be zombies. It's going to benefit wrestling. And you're going to have the coaches chasing them while they go to try to race to get food.
That kind of reminds me of Shorty. I'll tell you a quick story, Shorty story, which you kind of like triggered my memory. So he used to play. First of all, I love Shorty. He was, one of my heroes in my life. But anyway, we used to play the game called Rambo. Like, so he would take us all out into the woods, like right near Priscilla Gym, and he would go and hide, and you would have to run through the woods constantly and try to find him, right? So no one ever was able to find Shorty, but you were always under the impression, and he would tell you this, like, if I ever see anyone like walking, if you're not running the entire time, there'd be hell to pay, sort of thing. Like, we get back in the room and, it's not going to be pretty. Right. So he instilled the fear of God in you that you better be like running the whole time, like, never walking, never, like, so you were just like for an hour and a half, you're looking for him. Anyway, so I found him my senior year. It was like one of the most scariest moments because I saw him like hiding like this troll under this little bridge area. And I like called him out of the corner of my eye. And I was like, I didn't want to look at him because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Nobody's ever saw him before.
No one ever saw him.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you spotted this like elusive thing. So I was just, and when I was a senior, we were kind of like, I had paid my dues all up through there. And I was a 5th year senior. And, we were just kind of on a different level of like coach and athlete. And so I just kind of had this like understanding with him, like, I caught you, but I'm not gonna tell everybody. This is gonna be between us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you stay in your little hiding spot because no one's ever caught you there, right?
Yeah.
And I just kept running, and we had this little understanding that I kind of won because he usually you never won against Shorty in anything, whether it was darts, pool, anything. Like he would just beat you. I don't know. It was weird. So
I think those memories with coaches are the best. I mean, just how they reach kids and they do things different. And Shorty was probably ahead of his time because there's a lot of coaches that are just old school. They see him that way. But I think those relationships that you make with your coaches is what makes. I mean, that's what we all look back on. It's like I just remember. I don't remember like a lot of the big matches and I really remember like those little things like you said, like finding my Shorty Hitchcock in the woods or whatever, right? And so I think that's pretty neat. You see more teams now like playing games before practice or something, but do you think that's important of just trying to make wrestling fun for kids just to kind of go off of that?
I think that's I think that is the foundation for getting the most out of somebody. There's 2 different approaches. It's like, just pound the snot out of somebody and just, force them to be good, which I think works to a certain extent. But I think a better success rate is developing that relationship that fundamentally with an athlete and really inspiring them to get the best out of themselves. Whether that's to appease your coach or to appease yourself. I think in that process, even if you're trying to do this for your coach, you begin to learn you're doing it for yourself as well, instead of just like, feeling forced to kind of like, do it. So yeah, I think creating that kind of like relationship and that kind of atmosphere really in the end is the most successful for athletes.
And maybe what are some things you learned from him on his coaching style and making it fun that you use in your business today?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I learned that I learned I couldn't do in high school, because I went right out of college into teaching and coaching. And Shorty used another thing that Shorty used to do, which I appreciated all these things because it was just so like crazy, like some of the stuff that I was just like, wow, I like it. Because like you start to appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
It challenges you. You're like, this is crazy. I like it. This one wasn't super crazy, but he would load us up in the vans, kind of like a preseason thing. He would load us up in the 2 school vans, and he would just drive. He would drive somewhere like far away, and it would drop us off. Sometimes we would have our 50-pound sandbags. Sometimes we would just have ourselves. And he would be like, I'll see you back at the gym for practice. Now, this was like before phones, right? Because I'm older. And even if we did have phones, it wouldn't have been like a GPS thing. So we had no idea really where we were. Like I kind of had an idea because I was from this area. So he would just drop us off. He'd meet us back at the room for practice. And everyone, you would just have to run back to the room. So that was interesting. I did that one time when I was coaching at my first high school, and then I realized you can't really just take high school kids and drop them off somewhere a couple miles away from the school.
Yeah.
But anyway, Shorty, I think some of the lessons that Shorty taught me were just to have that relationship with your employees. Like get to know them on a personal level, care about them, be authentic, be genuine. And have fun at the same time as getting your work done. I think and just the perseverance of when it gets tough, you just dig in and you get it done. And that was taught to me by Shorty. I mean, it was taught to me by my parents growing up, like early life, like on the farm and that sort of thing as well.
What are some business lessons that you learned along the way?
Well, I mean, probably the biggest one is, kind of the things that we mentioned, like the one that we mentioned about never being satisfied with where you're at, setting goals, realistic goals, but achievable goals, but never thinking that you've achieved like what you could achieve. Like, there's always more, and not from a greedy standpoint, but just from a growth standpoint. Yeah. Like, like you have to have that vision and that mindset that, nothing that we're doing now is perfect, right? Like even the thing we're doing the most perfect, it still can be improved on. So you have to have the mindset of like analyzing everything all the time and just being like, how can we make this better? And maybe it's more important to make this better, but like, everything can be better. Every process can be better.
Yeah.
Every component of what you do in the business can be better. So I think, and that's the same with wrestling. It's like, you start to maybe perfect or, like, okay, this style's working for me or this move's working for me. And that's like, once that starts working, now you're tweaking it. Okay. Now, like when I'm in this position, I usually do this, but like my opponent now is kind of like, they're figuring this out. Now they're doing, now they're countering it with this. Well, now I can transition into this. Like, so it's kind of like that evolution of how wrestling, works. It's really similar to how business works, like even if you're a competitor, it's like, okay, well, we're doing this. Now our competitor is starting to do it. Well, we're already one step ahead because we've already moved on to this, so you're trying to stay ahead of everybody, ahead of your competition, whether it's on the mat or whether it's in the business world.
Because it's interesting because no matter what you do, they're going to see it and they're going to try to replicate it. So you already got to be working on those next couple steps ahead. Because if you're not going forward, we know this in wrestling, then you're going backwards, right?
And I think that's also one of the one of the compliments that people have when we see people mimic us in business. It's really, some people, a lot of people will say like, and this is kind of like the shorty mindset a little bit too, and probably like, the wrestler mindset, but a lot of people would say, oh my gosh, do you see they're doing the exact same thing as us? It's like, yeah, that's a compliment, like when you have somebody copying you, don't be like, oh, we hate them. It's like, no, that's pretty freaking cool because, they're copying us because we're the leader, like that's the thing to be proud of, but we're already onto this. Next year, you're going to see them copy this,
Yep.
and then the next year they're going to copy the next thing we do. So if you're being copied, that's something to be proud of in my mind, because that means you're not copying other people. People are copying you. That's what you want.
Yep. And I love that you're still involved in the sport of wrestling. Obviously, it taught you a lot of great lessons, and you're shared some great memories from it. Can you tell me a little bit about this barn that you have? I heard the female team was there training for maybe Serbia or something like that.
Yeah.
What is this barn?
Yeah. So, I was involved, with wrestling my whole life, wrestled from third grade, through high school, then at Millersville. Then I coached high school wrestling, assistant, head coach. And then when my son started wrestling, in elementary school, we had a great group of coaches and athletes, a lot of D1 coaches and just a lot of good people, a lot of great parents, a lot of great kids, a lot of great athletes. And we were always talking about, we needed it'd be cool to have our own facility, right? To practice in, because at that time we were at Hempfield High School and they were charging us to use the room. And, it was just kind of it was kind of a mess. So anyway, it was kind of hard to find practice space for our kids. And our youth program had like 150 kids in it, so we were always just kind of like, and then it came up, maybe we should put a room at your barn, Jim. It's like, well, so that started the gears, the gears flowing there a little bit, grinding. And I'm like, well, I have the chicken house up there. We could clean that up in a second. It's not really chickens in it anymore, but it's storage. But so we're going to put some mats down up there. And that evolved into the idea of like, well, you know what? Let me just build a pole barn, put a second floor in, and it turned into this immaculate, room that I remember Pat from Lehigh. Pat said he was down and he was like, man, this is better than half the D1 rooms around. And it's definitely better than Millersville's room, but I like Millersville's room because it's kind of like the old classic like dungeon room. Anyway, so I built the barn. Got some mats from the NCAA's that from Resolite, because back then you could choose your color on the bottom side of the mat, and the NCAA logo was just on the top.
So you have the NCAA mats that they wrestled on at the NCAA championships.
Yeah.
So, whoa.
Yeah.
Take a step back.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. So do they just sell those mats like afterwards, or how does that work?
So they sell them afterwards if they're not sold. But if you get in early, I think it's a little different now. But if you get, and I think this was 2016, is the first year for the barn. But if you talk to Resolite early enough, and this was Randy Umberger at the time, but if you talk to them early enough, you can choose your color on the bottom of the mat. So they'll produce the mat for NCAA's.
Yeah.
Has the logo on the top, but your mat is underneath there. And
that's so cool.
So it was really cool because I was at the tournament. My son and I were out there that year, and I was like, like mat number 2 and mat number 6. That's our mats. They're coming.
You got
back.
like Kyle Dake wrestling on your mat, or some big name, right?
It was cool. It was cool back then, and I forget who it was now, but that was exactly the scenario. And one of the mats was used for the semis. It wasn't used for the finals, but one of the mats up there was used for the semifinals. Oh,
that's so cool.
And
it's like a little piece of history in that barn, right?
It was really cool. So now, what I understand now, they put the NCAA logo on both sides.
Okay.
In case there's a problem, they got to flip it.
Yep.
But so out there, I was like, the bottom of that mat's ours. And then they go back to the tournament, and they sell them a little cheaper, but not a whole lot cheaper. But after the tournament, they go back to Resolite, just get reconditioned, and then they come out. So I have 2 full mats up there, a weight facility, and you mentioned the women's world team. They came in the summer of 2022. Really cool. Right before there was their final team camp before Serbia. So the women's team came. There was about 50 girls, and it was coordinated through Steve Capaferri, a big wrestling supporter and WIBN supporter, great guy. He facilitated it all, through me. I didn't know him, but he's a local
Hey,
legend.
network, business
Yeah.
network. Let's
It
go.
was, it was exactly was, and he came to me and reached out. Somebody got my number, said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about an opportunity," and because he had heard about the barn, so he reached out to me. We met. Super nice guy, and he was like, "How would you feel about the women's world team? Would you be interested in having them out at the barn?" And I'm like, "Is it a trick question?" Like, yeah. So then Clarissa Chun came out. Then a couple weeks later, Terry Steiner came out a couple weeks later, and just to see if it was going to be
Like work. Yeah.
for them. And they were going to have. It wasn't just the world team, it was like all their developmental teams too. So it turned into
Wow.
like 50, 60 girls. So
Yeah.
it was like the room itself was a little small to hold that many people. So he was like, I don't know. I'm like, well, the other part of the barn is this like 60-foot by 90-foot or 160-foot by 120-foot equipment storage area. Our farm equipment is there. So, I think Terry kind of like, he liked it. He's like, because I was like, well, I can move out all my farm equipment, clean it up. We could put mats down here. He's like, I like it. So I moved all my equipment out. We brought 3 mats down there. So we had 3 mats down there and 2 mats upstairs in the real wrestling room. They came out for for a week. Brian Hazard came out because they did a mock like trials, where they announced like and they did like the timing, like, okay, you have to wrestle now, and like 5 hours later you're gonna wrestle, like, so they wanted the girls to acclimate exactly to what the experience was gonna be like in Serbia.
Yeah, but a little simulation.
Yeah, total simulation. So yeah, Hazard came out, he was doing the announcing, so it was one of the most coolest things like I ever, and it came as a result of the networking, through the wrestlers, people with similar, just
Passions.
similar passions. Yeah. Right. And and Steve was a big supporter of the USA Wrestling and the women's program. And I tell you that program, it was really neat to get connected with them. I didn't think because of Field of Screams I'd be able to get to see them compete in Serbia, but then I learned the women competed Monday through Thursday. So I flew out Sunday. My wife and I.
You flew out to Serbia and got to watch them after.
We got to watch them right after we got to meet
cool.
them. The next year we followed them to Serbia again because we had such a close connection. It's such a great group of people, it really is. And then we kind of like rounded it all out. I didn't go to Croatia this year, but last year my wife and I then went to Paris to watch them compete.
Wow.
In the Olympics, and the men and women, we went to every session and got to we got connected with a lot of the coaches and the athletes, and saw Sarah Hildbrand win her gold, and got to spend some time with her just in the streets of Paris at like 2 a.m. after she went through her her like drug testing and her media stuff, and it was a great family, and it was
how fulfilling was that? Because I mean, just wrestlers will always say yes. I mean, we just love the sport, but how fulfilling was it that you were there to kind of help solve a big problem for them? If they're flying out here, it was a problem. They didn't have a place to train, and you were able to help solve that problem, and then just being able to sit there and watch all the successes that women's wrestling has had, even since that point, right? Like, how fulfilling was that?
Yeah, it was beyond description, really. I mean, just to be able to supply the barn and to work with the people that were involved, and just good people, just not in it for themselves, just in it for the sport, in it for the athletes, and to meet the athletes and meet the parents, and just to kind of, I mean, it puts like the pedestal. It's I don't know, like from the outside you may think like these these people are just like up there in the clouds, but like when you meet them, like just how down to earth everyone is, and then to watch that kind of come to fulfillment in Paris, and to see the success that the women's team had that year. It was kind of cool to be a part of that. I mean, I didn't really feel like I did anything other than supplied the venue, but in hindsight, it was a big deal. It was a big part of it, and I was just happy to be able to be in the position, to be honest. Like just to be able to have had the facility and had the opportunity. And it was kind of a busy time for us because it was towards the end of August, and I'm getting ready for my business to open, and I had to clear my calendar and all this, but it totally worth it. and loved it. Loved every part about it. I mean, just that, and that's why we followed them to Serbia 2 years, and that's why I made it. I made myself able to go to Paris to see them compete. It was totally fulfilling.
There's a little saying, it's like wrestling takes, but wrestling gives, and so I want to just take, obviously you were giving there. Yeah. So tell me how wrestling kind of gave to you and your business efforts.
Well, I mean, I think it started right from the start of Field of Screams. I mean, the very first year of Field of Screams, the acting staff, I mean, it was just the hayride, and the acting staff was the Millersville wrestling team. So, I mean, right from the start, I mean, I really owe it to the Millersville wrestling team. All my buddies on the team that came out to Field of Screams acted crazy, and they did that for a couple of years. The whole time I was at Millersville, they would come out, and I remember, and they were wild because, I mean, a couple of them were super creative. I remember one, Mike Schubert, he was like acted like a clown and dressed like a clown. He had this little nursery rhyme thing he would do, and just it was a cool moment, that we were all together in a different environment, not in the wrestling room, but out on the hayride scaring people. So, I would say right from the start, wrestling, and all those connections and the camaraderie, gave me the opportunity to start Field of Screams, really.
Yeah, and then that gave you the opportunity to help the women's team down the road. So it's just amazing how give and take, and we're always willing to put more into the sport, right?
Yeah, it did, and then Field of Screams enabled me to build the barn that impacts a ton of youth in our county. I mean, the women's team, they were able to come, which was a totally cool experience. But on top of that, the high school team practices at that facility over COVID. It really gave the high school an opportunity to have their program over COVID because they couldn't hold it at the high school room because of capacity limitations and the ventilation and all kinds of stuff. So my room had just been built. It was brand new. Everything was perfect. So it really gave the Hempfield High School the opportunity to continue wrestling over COVID. And then now impacts, thousands of youth wrestlers now.
Yeah, I mean, you've done so much for wrestling. If there's somebody that maybe has never heard of Field of Screams, and maybe they just moved to Pennsylvania, I know around here everybody's heard about it, but what's something that you would want to tell them why they should come and check it out, what you guys have to offer?
Well, I mean, Field of Screams is a full night of entertainment. You're going to be thrilled. You're going to be scared, and it's really, there's something for everybody. Now, if you're a total like scaredy cat, you may want to stick away, but if you're not even a hard junkie, if you just like adrenaline rushes, having fun, going out, I mean, there's really something for everybody. Even the people that are hard to scare, you're going to have a great time, watching other people get scared. You're going to be entertained just by the level of sophistication of our show. A lot of people think, oh, haunted attractions, that's for like a teenager. Well, Field of Screams isn't really for teenagers. It's for adults. We're we're trying to scare you, the hardest person to scare in the world, a wrestler. So that's our goal. It's totally entertaining. There's a ton of stuff to do. You're going to be there for a couple of hours and have a full night of entertainment.
All right. Well, I'm going to be going tonight. So if you get this, tune in, check it out. And I appreciate your time. And Wrestlers in Business, let's go.
You might not see him tomorrow. After tonight, this might be the last podcast he ever did. Just saying.